Industrial demand for silver is continuing to soar. What effect will this have on its price? Also, physical investment for silver was down 28% year over year. What does this all mean? Let's get into it. Buy your gold and silver online from SD Bullion. New customers get gold or silver at spot by visiting sdbullion.com/new. Thank you so much for watching. I do sincerely appreciate it. We are going to go over the World Silver Survey 2024. This is put out by the Silver Institute every single year. This is a 92-page document. I'm not going to go over the whole thing in this video because it would take forever. I'm just going to go over the highlights, but I promised in a past video I would go over this. I finally had some time to read through it, and if you've been waiting for that video, this is the video. Now, if you invest in silver, if you stack silver, if you care about silver price over the next few years, over the next few decades, there's a lot of insights in here. So let's dive in. Let's briefly go over the introduction here. For yet another year and the third in a row, silver demand massively exceeded supply in 2023, while the global market deficit fell by 30% year over year from last year's likely all-time high at 184.3 million ounces. It was still one of the largest figures on record. Crucially, last year's deficit coincided with a year in which we experienced sharp declines in bar and coin investment, jewelry and silverware demand. That meant global silver offtake fell overall year on year. The silver market's deficit conditions have so far been resilient to pressures from the weaker price elastic elements of demand. So last year, if you remember, silver price didn't change very much. However, lots and lots of silver here came out of the reserves. It was a crazy year. So there was a huge market deficit, but we didn't really see silver prices start to soar until this year, 2024. So this report is basically going over everything that happened last year. Let's take a quick look at silver supply and demand. So the top part here is the supply, and you can see 2015 going all the way to 2024 forecasted. So the supply is roughly 1,000 million ounces every single year, or 1 billion ounces of silver. So in 2020, obviously there was less because of COVID, only 957 million. But for the most part, we're getting 1 billion ounces of silver every single year. Then when we look at demand, we could see demand is picking up just over the last few years. So going back to 2015, billion ounce demand, then only 900 million, 900 million, 900 million, a billion briefly, 900 million, and then it's a billion, 1.2 billion, 1.2 billion, 1.2 billion. So demand for silver is up, and in fact, the demand is greater than the supply. We've seen that for the last several years, and it seems like demand is increasing. This chart over here on the left is showing the global demand for silver and how much is going into each sector. So obviously, industrial swallows up the most amount of silver, followed by investment and then jewelry. So this is why people call silver an industrial metal, because most of the silver that's mined every year goes into industry, and that's what drives the price for the most part. When we look at supply and demand swings by sector, we can see industrial was up last year and investment was down sharply. So physical investment in silver is falling. Some of the reasons for this decline in investment are Germany imposing a tax on silver, so less people are stacking silver in Europe. They're preferring to stack gold. And then they say here, most other Western markets also saw steep declines due to such factors as cost of living issues and range-bound prices. So obviously, if inflation is going up and you're having a hard time paying for your mortgage, you're not going to be able to put as much money into silver. Here they show the global supply forecast for silver, and you can see 2024 forecast is basically in line with what we've seen over the last, 10 years. Nothing is really changing as far as the supply side. The same amount of silver is getting mined every year. It's not like these mines are running dry. Sometimes people on YouTube YouTube will say things like that. The silver mines are running dry. They're having to go deeper than ever before. We're running out of silver. That's simply not the case. From a supply side, it is constant. It is the demand that is changing and fluctuating. Industrial demand is forecast to rise by 9% this year to a new record high. So they're thinking the demand for silver is going to continue to go up in industry, which obviously is the leading factor in where silver is going. We can see here that light-duty vehicle production is not really set to increase in the coming years, but battery electric vehicles and hybrids, those are skyrocketing, as well as PV or photovoltaic installation, that is your solar panels. So solar panels and electric vehicles are the main things that are driving industrial demand for silver. And now we get to physical investment. These are the stackers right here. So after hitting an all-time high in 2022, physical investment fell by 28% year over year in 2023 to a 3-year low. Most key markets recorded weaker volumes last year. Losses were particularly acute in Germany, where sales collapsed following the VAT change at the start of 2023. India and Australia also recorded heavy losses, over 30%. The drop in the US was far more restrained at 13%, and the absolute volumes remained historically high. When they break down physical investment country by country, we actually see something really interesting for the year-over-year change in 2023. So United States was down 13%, India down 38%, Germany down 73%, Australia down 38%, Canada down 35%, and check this out, China up 7%. So the stackers in China were still buying silver, and they bought more silver last year than the year before. So they were really the only ones stacking, and I mean, for good reason. If you live in China, you should probably be buying precious metals. When we look at coins and metals fabrication, this is talking about how many ounces of silver eagles or silver maple leafs were put out. So they break it down country by country, and the year-over-year change for 2023, we could see China was up 5%, United States up 38%. They started putting out way more silver eagles. Look, 2022, there was only 21 million. 2023, 29 million. This is why we saw the silver eagle premiums drop last year. They're still pretty low this year. When we look at the above ground silver stockpiles, are we running out of available silver? In short, the answer is no, but eventually we may be running out of silver. So look at this, from 2021 to 2022, a huge drop in the available silver, but from 2022 to 2023, only a 5% change. So we're not really running out of silver. I mean, look, London, the LBMA actually had more silver in 2023 than 2022, but overall, it is slowly being depleted. When we look at the London and Exchange Vault inventories, it definitely seems like a huge drop-off here, and there was a lot that sold in 2022, but I mean, this chart here goes from 1,800 million ounces to 600 million ounces. It's a little bit deceiving. I mean, they are still depleting these inventories. It's just not at a crazy rapid pace at the moment. When we look at the top 20 producing countries, these are the countries that are mining silver out of the ground. And if you didn't know, Mexico is on top. They mine more silver than any other country by far, almost twice as much as second place, which is China. The United States is down in 9th place, only 32 million ounces of silver mined last year. So not a lot of silver coming out of the USA. Most of it around the world is coming from Mexico, China, Peru, and that's it. Okay, now we get to probably one of the most important things that the World Silver Survey puts out. If you take away nothing else from this video, at least pay attention to this part right here. It is so important. So the primary silver production cost is going up. They break it down. They show the total cash cost and the all-in sustaining cost to actually produce 1 single ounce of silver from a mine, to pull it out of the ground and to turn it into an ounce of silver, okay? So in 2022, we have the total cash cost down here at the bottom, $5.19. It went up dramatically. 2023, $8.38. That's a 61% increase. Okay, so cash cost for an ounce of silver, $8.38. However, they got to keep the lights on, they got to pay the workers, etc. They got to pay for the diesel to transport the silver. So the all-in sustaining cost for 1 single ounce of silver last year, $17.18. It was up 25%. So that is basically the lowest that silver can go. If silver price goes below $17.18, these miners are not going to be profitable when they're mining this silver. They're going to stockpile it and not sell it into the marketplace. So if we see silver price go below $17 an ounce, it's going to stay there for a short time and then bounce back. This is basically the bottom for silver. How low can it go? $17, because it doesn't make sense for these companies to mine it if it goes lower than that. Now, I know silver is a byproduct of other mining, but as we've seen before, these companies will just stockpile the silver and eventually the price will go up. Now we're looking at the global industrial demand for silver. It is continuing to rise. I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. And the country that is using up the most silver for industry is, by no surprise, China. Look at this, up 57% year over year. A lot of these other countries, not really much of a change. So global total up 20%, of which photovoltaics or solar panels, 64% increase. So it's almost like solar panels are going to be the thing that is driving silver price over the next 10 years or so. Okay, that was a lot to go over. I know we bounced around quite a bit, but I hope I was able to disprove some of those myths that you've heard online about silver. You know, is the world running out of silver? Well, the above ground stockpiles are being depleted, but it is at a slow pace. There's a lot of silver still in those. What about the mines? Are those drying up? Not really. Production of silver is basically constant. The thing that is changing is the demand. Demand is increasing for silver on the industry side mainly. That's what we're seeing, and it's mostly in electric vehicles and solar panels. I think solar panel production, if that increases, and especially if it goes exponential, we could see the silver dry up really, really fast. I mean, it could get crazy in the next 10, 20 years. So keep an eye on that. From the stacking standpoint, we haven't really seen the stackers show up yet. I think 2024 things are starting to change. And if world issues continue to get worse, people rush into precious metals, you know, we could see things change really fast. So how's this going to affect silver price? I think in the short term, we have to look at what's happening with interest rates. We have to look at what's happening with the election and wars and stuff like that. But long term, I think the demand for silver will increase. It's obviously used a lot in industry. And I think long term, over the next 10, 20 years, we are going to see the price go much, much higher. So anyway, what are your thoughts on the World Silver Survey? Put them down below in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next one. Silver Dragons out.